It's KBKW's Coffee Talk. It is 7:10, and with us this morning is clinical pharmacist James LaValle. Good morning, and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
As you can probably hear from the news, we're kind of in the middle of this coronavirus here in Washington, and we're away from Seattle far enough to where our schools are still in operation. But there's been three large counties in Washington that are in the Puget Sound area that have closed schools for 6 weeks.
Well, I've probably answered and been on at least 10 radio interviews and wrote a position, piece to go out into the, out to our prescribers of information, because obviously people have a lot of questions, and I think. One of the biggest things that I think we're not talking about is, what do you do to prevent? How do you really keep your body in the best kind of immune shape that you can? And I think that's one of the areas that, we haven't had a lot of, discussion about. We're all talking about test kits and social distancing, all things you need to do from a public health perspective. The public officials are really, correct and on point. Start talking about how do we prevent us from getting as sick. Because I think there's a lot of room for us to improve there.
And a lot of that has to do, I guess, with how your digestive system is functioning, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, correct?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, right, that we're having this discussion, because 70% of your immune system is in your digestive system. And a lot of people just think, hey, if I go to the bathroom every day and I take a little fiber, that means I'm okay. Not necessarily the case. Diets that are richer in refined sugars and refined carbohydrates and too many saturated fats. So everybody's into the whole coconut oil thing now, and, eat all the red meat you want kind of thing. There's some folks that are on that side, and the other side of the folks are on the vegan side. But for the most part, you do need to eat a rich array of green leafy vegetables, artichokes, apples, oatmeal, making sure you're using fiber, because those foods actually feed the beneficial bacteria in your intestine that actually dictate how your immune system is functioning. And a lot of us, there's a lot more bacteria in our bellies than most of us understand. And those bacteria are driving a wide array, the beneficial flora, just a wide array of metabolic activity in your body, from your immune system to absorbing things, all the way through to even processing our hormones.
What's interesting is, and it's been a while that I've been doing it, but I was reading about, Greek yogurt and so on and so forth. I was not a big yogurt guy, but I found a brand of Greek yogurt that I decided, okay, I'll just eat this on a daily basis, see what happens. And within 4 or 5 days, I began to notice that my digestive system started calming down. It was hard to identify when you say calm down, because I didn't realize it was calmed up until I started taking this. And I began to realize that, for instance, if I went out for breakfast, I had trouble with breakfast sausage. It always bothered me. Gave me, and so all of a sudden I ate some, and I thought, I shouldn't have eaten it, and nothing happened. So then I ordered it again. Another time we were having a breakfast, and it didn't cause the same issue that I had before. And there's some other things that I've noticed where my stomach is not reacting quite the same way. Now, is that my imagination, or is there something to it?
Well, you know what? If it's your imagination, we call that the placebo effect, and that's a valid way to improve drug therapy. So you know what? I'm all for it. So keep eating the Greek yogurt that's helped you to be able to have a better belly, right? I mean,
I didn't know it would work. I just did it.
Right. Yeah. No, I think it probably had a big effect on you. I think that eating fermented foods, having a little bit of sauerkraut doesn't hurt. Kefir doesn't hurt. Some people can't tolerate dairy, so I really encourage. There's a great probiotic that's been studied in humans called the Friendly Trio, and actually it actually is pretty interesting, because they gave it to college students in winter quarter under high stress. Incidence of cold and flu went down significantly, and the severity of symptoms went down 34%. And the time of their flu went down by 2 days. So it really is starting to lend credence to the fact that we're realizing now that when you put these good bugs in your body, that it's going to have an impact on your immune system and inflammation and digestion, and you just feel better, right? I mean, it's kind of strange. I'm in clinical practice 38 years. I mean, I teach doctors all over the world how to apply natural therapies, and it's amazing what a big fan you get in your patient when you get them to have a healthier digestive system, when they're not feeling queasy, bloated, nauseous, kind of, a little bit of GERD, a little bit of reflux. I feel uneasy when I eat this food. It didn't agree with me. When you clean those things up, it's really powerful. And I think eating the right foods, getting probiotics in are at the center of it. And it's really timely now because, there's studies that show that you reduce the incidence of cold and flu when you're taking probiotics versus when you're not.
Now, in your career, have you ever seen anything quite like what we're having to go through now when it comes to something spreading this fast that can be not so dangerous for some people and then deadly for others?
It's been remarkable. I'll tell you what's been really remarkable. I mean, if you remember H1N1,
right.
I mean, that was a whole other level because you had 500,000 people globally dying and almost 13,000 Americans dying. And every year people die due to an H influenza virus. That's why I get a little bit jaded because, every year elderly populations are at risk. It's the number 5 cause of death in elderly is getting a viral, bug, a flu bug. But what has been striking is kind of the response that we've had to this, seeing how lethal it is. It is pretty lethal in that elderly population, especially in people that are compromised with other conditions. And I think what's the most interesting is the way it's going to change, I think, the way we work. I do believe we're going to see more telemedicine, more virtual care. I think people are going to be a little bit more aware of what they're doing. But you know what? I'm still going to go back to it. The best defense is a good offense. People need to start taking care of themselves. If you only sleep 5 hours a night, and many people do, you're 9 times more likely to get a flu bug. When people are under stress, they have significantly more risk of getting a cold or flu because when you're under chronic stress, it weakens your immunity. And so trying to get people to understand, live a lifestyle every day that really helps you to maintain your immune health, reduce your risk of getting sick. I think we're missing that still across the board in our country. I don't think we're there yet.
Now, what are, say, for instance, 3 different things that somebody could do, in tandem that would make a big difference?
Well, I mentioned one. One would be, eat better. So get more fiber, eat the artichokes, get the green leafy vegetables, try to get some chia seeds in, occasional bowl of oatmeal, especially if you put some protein with it. That's a great place to start. Cut down the sugar, cut down the saturated fat. Try not to eat so many chicken wings, right? And so many chocolate chip cookies after the chicken wings. And so that's one. The second one is to exercise. Exercise actually improves the diversity of your intestinal flora. People don't realize that. Really important. It can be moderate exercise or it can be intense exercise. Either one significantly changes your immune response, and I'm in favor of the average person. Just do moderate exercise. Get out, walk, take a yoga class, do something you enjoy, bike, because moderate exercise actually boosts your immune system. The harder you train, the more you push your immune system. So that's why I'm more in favor of, for the general public, just get out there and exercise at a moderate level. And the third one is, really learn how to relax. I mean, take your blood pressure. If your blood pressure is slightly elevated, you're probably stressed out. If your heart rate is slightly elevated, meaning it's above 62 in the morning, you're probably stressed out. If you're having trouble sleeping at night, same issue. If you can chill out, you can even do. I teach people in my clinic all the time. Let's do box breathing. 4 seconds in, hold 4 seconds. 4 seconds out, hold 4 seconds. That box breathing technique, do it 2 or 3 minutes a couple times a day. Release the stress that you've gone through the first part of your day, and then try to do the same for the next part of your day. That can really be effective. And I think a lot of us don't think that way. We're conditioned here to run hard until something happens. And then we run into the pharmacy and go, okay, I need some ibuprofen. All right, I need something for my sleep. Try to work towards needing less acute medication. work towards your health. And, of course, we have to take these significant measures that the public health officials are doing with the COVID-19. I mean, they're doing everything they can to keep this thing from spreading, and it is a unique situation. So in 42 years now, since the time I was an intern to now, haven't seen anything like it.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. We're going to take a real quick break, and then we'll be right back with you, James. It's KBKW's Coffee Talk. 7:22 is the time, and clinical pharmacist James LaValle is our guest today. Now, you were talking about how stress can kind of pull your immune system down. Yet, you look at some folks, now it hasn't happened here yet, let's knock on wood, where we have the schools closed for 6 weeks. But if you're in Seattle or the region surrounding Seattle, you're going to be in a situation where suddenly your kids are going to be home for 6 weeks, and all the crazy stuff that goes along with it. And maybe you're having to work from home, or somebody gets the virus or is under some sort of observation. How do you try and calm yourself down, and are there foods that can help that?
Well, that's a great question. I think the first thing is you got to create a strategy. So you're going to have a plan to keep your kids active, even though I'm sure they're going to have their work assignments in order to keep them up on task with school. You're going to have to make a plan. Let's create proper play time. And then also in terms of what we have to do. If you're the mom or the dad, don't be afraid to take like an Epsom salt bath or throw a little lavender oil into a bath and sit there and just chill a little bit. Foods that are going to help calm you down, honestly, keep the kids away from too much sugar. Once again, we've all seen it, right? Kids that eat a bunch of sugar, all of a sudden you're peeling them off the wall. So make sure that we try to keep the sugar content down. Try to have, a day agenda set so that you can somewhat keep everybody to be less stressed. It's going to be difficult. I mean, let's just face it. I mean, especially if you got multiple kids at home, it's going to be a little bit of work for parents. And I think we all just have to kind of work together on it. And once again, do some basics. Make sure that, you're getting the right diet. Think about giving them probiotics. You can obviously, if you're really stressed out, there's a couple of interesting natural ingredients. Theanine, Theanine, really good clinical studies that it helps lower, kind of the anxiety level. And I know a lot of my folks that come into me, they're at the parenting age and they're not getting enough sleep, and they're always making a list by the end of the day. I give them a little bit of that theanine, and man, that really calms them down. And then I think those are the key things that they need to work towards. And then get that exercise in. You can still do family exercise, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And that can really be a big help for people.
So now, do you have like a website where people can go, or have you written some books that we can talk about?
Well, I've written 20 books.
Oh, geez.
I wrote a book called Green Immunity. I wrote a book called Cracking the Metabolic Code and Your Blood Never Lies. You can go to jimlavalle.com. It's got all those listed. And then, of course, the platform that I've written to help docs with telemedicine and applying integrative medicine into the healthcare provider space is called metaboliccode.com. So people can get me that way, and if they search me on the Internet, apparently people have a lot of videos of me speaking, which I have no idea how, because I didn't put them up there. But there's a lot of them up there. So in the people, probiotics.com, I actually am, I respond to questions on that. So people should think about probiotics.com. I also said that term, friendly trio. If people want to go out and look for that brand would be Chiodophilus, just so they know it, because they're going to look for friendly trio. They're not going to find it. Mm-hmm. But that's the one that was studied in humans.
And it's Chio what?
Dophilus, like acidophilus, but Chiodophilus.
Okay.
And that's the brand. I don't want people going out looking for the friendly trio without knowing what am I looking for.
I just realized I talked to you a number of years ago because of the book about Your Blood Never Lies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
it's been a few years.
I remember it. It has.
Yeah.
I remember your voice, actually. Yeah, no, and that book is just really done great because people really are interested in understanding about, hey, what's my blood test mean? What am I? What's it mean when I'm trending high in a certain area? It doesn't have to be out of bounds.
Mm-hmm. But it's just little indicators that let you know. what's going
on?
on?
Well, I mean, I think it's the biggest thing is that when people go into their healthcare provider, they get a blood test and the doc says, "Hey, you're normal." Well, normal just means, and when you typically go into a doctor's office and they do a lab, that you're not sick, that you don't have numbers that are out of bounds. That's the whole thing, even when I'm talking about immunity and what people should be doing in terms of not just coronavirus, any virus, any cold and flu season. What are you doing on a daily basis? People will spend more time researching their next refrigerator they're going to buy or their next car they're going to buy than they research their own health. And you have to be your own advocate for your own health. And that the book, Your Blood Never Lies, really goes through and says, well, you know what? If your blood sugar is at the high end of normal, you could have as high as a 78% risk of being diabetic in the next decade, and your doctor will be telling you you're in normal range. But I don't know about you, but a 78% bet is what you're going to take every time, right? So you either have to do things that turn off that path towards being chronically ill in your future and being an immune compromised in your future, or turn on a path towards wellness, being proactive, empowering yourself, and reducing these risks. It's only getting worse, right? 40% of the population is obese, 50% of the population is diabetic, pre-diabetic. Half of all adults over 50 have high blood pressure or heart disease. So these are big numbers. We really got to start changing the way we do things.
And of course, weight is probably one of the biggest issues and one of the best cures for some of this, if by losing weight.
Wow. It's such a big deal. You know, a lot of people don't realize, but when you're overweight or if you're obese, you have the equivalent of a low-grade infection going on in your body 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because your immune system, your fat cells are throwing out inflammatory compounds that actually start to tear away at your immune system. And it also starts to trigger things like plaquing your arteries and damaging your kidneys. But, yes, if you can get your weight managed, it is a fantastic step in the right direction. But, unfortunately, for all the Lululemon pants being sold in America, 80% of the people in America are overweight right now.
Well, with that, we're going to have to let you go because we're out of time. But thank you very much for talking with us. And what's your website again?
Probiotics.com and then JimLaValle.com.
All right. Well, thanks for talking with us today.
Great. It was my pleasure.
All right. Bye-bye.